Hi, this is John Wren. Each Friday at noon, I'm here, and we call this next half hour or so the Startup Show. Sometimes have guests on to talk about how they got started. Today, I'm going to talk about something new we're right in the middle of that's kind of unfolding. We're going to share it online, and it's a study group. 2016 elections study group. Probably it's better called the 2020 election study group, because we're really going to look at what is the impact of the Colorado caucus and what would it be like if we changed to a presidential primary. We're going to study this. Independent citizens, I've invited a bunch of my friends. The first 12 or so that respond will be part of the group that meets face to face, and maybe it's going to meet once, maybe it'll meet more, but we'll also be doing it online. So if you're interested in that at all, let me know. I'll give you more details at the end of the show. So this is the Startup Show. We talk about the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. and our startup method, which is comprised of 4 practices: recover, get back up on your feet, inspiration. Everything you look around and see started with somebody's idea. So the practice of inspiration, think, critical thinking. You know, it's not enough to imagine. You have to sit down and think hard about it, and maybe get some other people involved in that hard thinking, but be careful who you get involved with. That's one of the things we talk about, because there are a lot of idea killers around that, you know, if Edison had brought them a light bulb, they would have said, you know, you can never monetize this. This is not a good idea. So stay away from the naysayers, but also stay away from the Pollyannas. And finally, learning. We learn. Adult self-directed learning, I think, is a powerful technique, especially when applied to starting a new business. Some people think the start of a new business is the best adult learning project you can have. You're going to learn all kinds of things, and we talk about that, all these things at Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. And that's this afternoon, 3:30, or 3:15. We'll meet here at the University Station, light rail station here in Denver. We'll ride down together on the light rail train, get off at Union Station, and take the trolley down to Panera Bread, right on the corner of 16th and Market. Now, you don't have to ride the light rail train with us, but you can take the light rail from any place in Denver, use their park and ride, get to Union Station, then take the trolley, or you can go down to California and 16th and then take the trolley the other direction. But the light rail makes it real easy to go downtown, even at the busiest time as far as traffic is concerned, which would be this afternoon. But take the light rail, park and ride, light rail to Panera Bread, 16th and Market, right across from the old Market Street station. Get off the trolley at Market Street, 16th Street trolley, and we'll be starting the meeting at 4:30. And today we're going to make the topic what I'm about to talk to you about. And who knows, maybe we'll even watch a video of a little bit of this to get the meeting started. We're going to talk about the 2016, 2020 election study group that we're putting together, because there's this idea in Colorado now, again, that we ought to change our wonderful Colorado caucus that has served us so well since 1912. But I'm going to open-mindedly rethink whether this is a good thing or not. I've done this repeatedly, but I'm going to do zero-based thinking and go back to the beginning and think through. And I've invited the chief proponent of a ballot initiative that will have the effect of killing the caucus to join us. And I've asked people to pass along the invitation I've sent them to anybody that might be interested. So I don't know who will show up this afternoon, but we'll be using the Idea Cafe Startup Workshop at Lodo Panera Bread, 16th and Market, for the purpose of thinking through what I'm about to talk to you about. This study group to take a look at how candidates get put on the ballot here in Colorado, why it's such a good thing for the average ordinary person, and why the presidential primary kills it. We know because we've tried it here before, but I'm going to talk through those things with you today. We're going to brainstorm it this afternoon and then form a study group and try to, as the ballots hit the mailbox, make a recommendation from the study group. And I'm hoping that maybe the proponent will recant. You know, it's a newcomer to Colorado. He really doesn't understand the system, and it's a system that you do have to understand before you can appreciate how powerful it is and why we have such better government in Colorado as compared to some place like California because of it. Perfect government? No, no such thing. But historically, until about 20 years ago, Colorado closely tied their representatives to their grassroots constituency. And that changed for a number of reasons. I'll talk to you about that a little bit today. But that's what we'll be studying. And should we reconnect with the system that we've had and make it work, or should we change to the way they do it in California? I guess that is sort of the topic. Now, that's loaded. And I'll also be doing a couple of other things in addition to this study group myself. One is I'm going to start blogging, posting each day on johnwren.com, and I'm going to use this formation of the study group as a case history of startup. One of the things I wanted to talk about in conjunction with startup today is next week is Startup Week here in Denver, and people will ask me why I don't participate in that. I have the oldest startup group in Denver, and I really turn up my nose at most of these things that go on, the startup weekends and all these things. Really, to me, they're part of the problem and not part of the solution. I think they maybe get some publicity and help sell books for some people, but for the average ordinary person that I've been working with for over 20 years, they really just don't help them get started. As a matter of fact, they create this barrier to entry that kills a lot of them before they ever get started. You know, startup is what's made this country strong. It's been easier to start a business here than any place else in the world until recently. Now it's becoming harder and harder because the more the government tries to help businesses get started, it seems like the fewer businesses actually get started. And their theory is as well, if these businesses had started, they would have failed. We kept them from hurting themselves. Well, maybe in some cases that's true, but not very often, in my opinion. You take someone with the startup fever, he's got an idea, the time is now, goes into an SBA office. It's the death knell for another business before it even gets off the ground, usually. Now, they may take them and put them under their wing, take them into an entirely different thing, sell them a franchise, get them to go, you know, there are these things that they do. But if you look at our economy today, how much of it is due to we've killed the mechanism for these little minnows that have grown into whales. Now, what's popular today are this idea of unicorns, businesses that instantly go to $1 billion. Jet.com, a unicorn. You know, I have some inside connections there and have watched it closely, and amazingly enough, they've just sold to Walmart for, I believe, $2 billion. Well, let's see how that plays out. Other businesses have just gone whoosh. But mostly that's the internet. It's this new tool that we all have that's making that possible. And that's wonderful. I'm not against anybody doing that. But for the little clerical person that ends up getting a job as a counselor in an SBA, to think they can play any part in that is bizarre. And I've never talked to a unicorn that went into the SBA and got any help at all. They're just not interested in it. Same thing with startup weekends. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this. If they're been very successful businesses that came out of startup weekends, I would sure like to know about them, but I don't know of one single successful business. I think what we do is truly helpful, and that's because we're very modest in what we claim that we can do. We invite people to come to one meeting, an Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. That's what we'll be doing this afternoon. My topic there will be this study group. And I've got some ideas. I'll put them out. We'll do green light thinking. And then I'll go on my way and actually take action after I've thought about it. And we talk about that model. I've been doing it for 20 years. Nobody has ever come and said, hey, you really took me down the primrose path. Can the SBA say that? No, I don't think so. They have people sue them on a regular basis because they get misled by these little clerical people that they hire as counselors. You know, and the counselors see it as a sales opportunity for the consulting service. It's very dishonest. And, you know, if you had cancer, would you go into a volunteer, you know, the candy striper type person in the hospital and say, how should I treat my cancer? Well, that's what we've been doing in business here since 1953 with Small Business Administration. And I have firsthand information of the birth of the Small Business Administration, President Eisenhower and some others sitting around a table, and they had the idea of getting money from the houses. Veterans had bought houses, prices had gone up, and they knew that they could get Veterans Home Loan Program in place for new homes and existing homes. They could get some money pulled out of the economy, and sure enough, it worked. It helped, and it was a good idea. But as they're talking about the Veterans Home Loan Program, they say, well, why don't we do that for businesses too? And we could have people come into the SBA office and get a loan on their new business idea or their existing business. Now, the existing business, I'm not a banker. Maybe it plays some important role in banking. I don't know. I don't think so. But what I know for sure is that their startup program stinks. And it is a mechanism where they actually count it as a success in some of their programs if they talk someone out of going into business, because their assumption is if they talked them out of it, it would have been a failure, which is just bizarre. And as a result, rate of startups have gone down, 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 down. It used to be about 1 million a year. Now it's about 500,000 a year, and it keeps going down. And what's hurt even worse is businesses from 10 to 100 employees, which is the bedrock small business that we need for our political system to work. It's a business that's large enough to allow the owners, the principals, to get away and participate in political activities, but not so large that consultants are hired and that kind of thing. And it's the kind of business that gives people independence of thought, not like a Fortune 500 company where you sit in a cubicle and your boss sends you to the meeting or take the position that he wants on whatever it is he's got this wild idea about. I'm not wildly in favor of giant corporations. On the other hand, I don't think they should be regulated. We should just allow competition. And one of the ways to do that is eliminate the Small Business Administration as far as their new business function is concerned, because they're doing more harm than good. Today, we're going to do the Idea Cafe Startup Workshop, and the topic I'm going to offer is the Colorado Caucus. And I'm going to share with you now just very briefly the part that we may play as a tape, or I may just repeat this to the group, and then we'll do a fresh thought hunt on it. So this will be about a 90-second exercise. That's how we do it. It's a brainstorming type technique. I learned it from Charlie Kiefer. He and Lynn Schlesinger wrote the best book ever written about startup, and it's just bombed. I don't know of one SBA office that recommends it. It's called Just Start. Charlie Kiefer and Lynn Schlesinger. And Charlie taught me this technique. It's called a fresh thought hunt. It's very powerful. 90 seconds, the situation. Then 4 minutes, the two people, you break down into 3-person teams, the two people that have listened, then share their thoughts. And it's fresh thoughts, not memory thinking. You don't think back to the class you took or the book you read or your experience. You just let your mind go blank, and whatever pops in it, you share for 4 minutes. And the hallmark is that it's short. So Corky tells me we're going to meet at 1. I hope you're watching, Corky, because this is what we're going to talk about. I've got an exclusive interview with one of the papers. It's well read. It's not the New York Times, but I'm going to tell them more about this and what we're doing, because we are going to try to stop $1 million initiative and spend no money. It's going to be a volunteer effort. And this study group is going to be a key part of it. But the fresh thought hunt, Charlie taught me how to do it. 90 seconds, 4 minutes, then a 6-minute debriefing. The first 2 minutes, the person that's done what I'm about to do, the 90-second situation, says, is this on target? Would anything make it better? If I have fresh thoughts myself, and then we open it up for the remainder of the 6 minutes to everyone. We have more fresh thoughts. And it's powerful. It's the best brainstorming technique I've ever come across. And it's sort of intuitive as compared to brainstorming, which requires some instruction and some effort and some leadership to make it work. This works well, even when we sort of fumble through it and we don't know what we're doing. But the 90 seconds would be starting right now. In 2002, there was Amendment 29, amendment to the Constitution that would have killed the Colorado Caucus. And I found out about it by accident, got some people. We defeated it despite being outspent 1,400 to 1, because back then in 2002, a lot of people alive that had seen a good caucus. We saved the caucus. It was restarted then in 2014, and almost immediately we tried a presidential primary here in Colorado. And when we tried the presidential primary, that's the root of the problem. The presidential primary, we removed it. We defeated Amendment 29. And now we want to do the presidential primary again. And we want a study group, and I want to be open-minded. How can I open my mind so I'm really not just trying to reinforce my prejudices? How can I find other people that want to do that with me? And what can we do to have an impact on amendment, this initiative for, it's not an amendment, but it's Initiative 98 and Initiative 140, which will have the effect of killing the caucus. So then this afternoon at the Idea Cafe, we'll say, so what do you think? What can I do? And we'll see what ideas come up. Then we'll debrief for the 6 minutes, see what ideas come up. And then I'm going to take that, think about it, and we'll make a media release next week as far as what's going to happen with this. So if you'd like more of the same, join us this afternoon at Idea Cafe Startup Workshop, and you'll get a chance to do that with your business problem or opportunity. Let's say you've got a problem. You're starting a new product inside your company and you're hitting a snag. Come and put it on the table. Now, we ask people to keep things confidential, but that is something I can't guarantee. There may be competitors that are taking notes, but you can be as anonymous as you want. Usually you can change the facts just a little bit to protect yourself, put it on the table, and it's amazing what can come out of these little sessions. In a corporate environment, this would cost a lot of money. People keep telling me I should do it in a corporate environment, but I don't want to help the large corporations. They've got a lot of great consultants right now, and they sure don't need my help. But the little guy just starting up does. And what we invite them to do is to come to brainstorm and go get started. So you can make this weekend a startup weekend if you want. That's why I don't support things like the Startup Week. True startups aren't going to be at Startup Week. They're starting their business. It's good for consultants probably to exchange ideas and that type of thing. But please don't say if you want to be in business for yourself, come to this, because it just kills people's initiative. And maybe they'll gradually change. Maybe the SBA can change. If the SBA would implement Charlie Kiefer, Lou Schlesinger's Just Start as the bedrock of what they're teaching, it could revolutionize America. So maybe let's not kill the SBA, but let's get it on track with what's worked in this country for 235 years. That we're now, if market research and careful strategic planning, like I was taught to do in graduate business school, was really how this country operated, we would not have a market economy, we'd have a planned economy. And for some people, that's their goal. There are socialists that push these kinds of things, not because they care a bit about the person starting a business, but they want the propaganda that market research and planning is the way to go. And so you really don't need a market system. And the government ought to keep clamping down until nobody can get started. And it's going to be just like it is in the worst days of the Soviet Union. Is that really what we want? We take our system overseas, and then what we do here is go back in 180 degrees, the opposite direction. But this study group will also look at the presidential race. My bias is tremendous in that, and I need to take a step back and look hard, and maybe you'd be appreciative of the information that comes out of the study group. The study group is going to try to get clear on, is Donald Trump really an absolute lunatic? I'd feel better if I could talk with him one-on-one. I can tell if somebody's a lunatic, I think, when I sit with him for 5 minutes. I've had a lot of experience with that. Maybe we have me and a psychologist or whoever, but somebody needs to do that and say, yes, I can vouch for him personally. This is a good man. His faith is real. Not this guy he has speak at the convention. How embarrassing that was. Is that his pastor? Really? He expects us to believe that? Well, maybe it is. Donald, bring your pastor. Let's you and I sit down and talk with your pastor, because I could endorse you, especially because Gary Johnson has been slow getting out of the chute. I thought, no problem, Gary Johnson. And Hillary Clinton, I was actually a Hillary Clinton delegate in 2008, and I believed everything she said about Barack Obama. And then all of a sudden, he wins and she's on his team. So that's when I became unaffiliated. And, I don't think winning for the party is a very good goal. Political parties should be tools. They should be megaphones. They're a way for me to magnify my voice, not a place to take marching orders. That's what they do in communist regimes. You're a member of the party and you take marching orders. Not here in this country. And this election study group is going to take a look at these things and then make recommendations when the ballots hit the mailbox, because you have to do it before election day now. It's about a month before. So we'll have about 30 days, take a hard look at these things. I'm going to select about 12 people that will meet together, maybe just once, but at least one face-to-face meeting. Maybe we'll meet more often. And then we'll also do part of this online. If you'd like to be part of it, there's a Facebook group called 2016 Election Study Group. Be delighted to have you join us online for it. Or be part of this group that's being selected. I've invited whoever's interested in being part of the 12 that are going to be face-to-face to come this afternoon, Idea Cafe Startup Workshop at Panera Bread Lodo, 16th and Market. It's a meeting that's over by 6 o'clock or sooner if we run out of things to talk about. And you can also bring any topic you'd like to put on the table. If you're starting anything new, and who isn't these days? I mean, it's a constant process of starting a new household, moving. How do I buy a new house at the right price? So it can be a project, a campaign, a new career and a new line of work, or a new business. But they all have the similar characteristic of we're taking an idea of ours and trying to make it a reality. And we only do green light thinking. We don't murder board or tell people if it's a good idea or not. Who knows? In our market economy, the market tells us if it's a good idea or not, and not some clerk sitting behind a desk saying that's not a good business idea. Who knows? But we don't believe in blind action. Imagine, but then think. And there's some things that we talk about at the meeting about that I think help people from doing stupid things. We don't want to. Some people think that it's not doing market research and not doing careful planning lowers the bar for startup. Not really. Really, in some ways, it raises the bar, because unless you're deeply involved in some business where you see an idea and you know it's going to work, you know who your first customers are, you're probably going into the wrong business. Now, we don't tell you that, but that's just the fact. And so we're not really lowering the bar, we're raising the bar, because people that go into business for themselves should know what the heck they're doing. It's not a good welfare program, unless it's something like snow shoveling. You know, two guys on a bus I was taking had snow shovel. I said, hey, you guys are going, yeah, we go out in the suburbs and shovel. How do you do it? And they make about $40 an hour each shoveling snow. Now you go into a business like that? Yes, definitely, and get some experience, and then, you know, but you're not going to start a unicorn. And the SBA is probably not going to be very helpful. But in America today, there's no reason for people not to have work. Professor Foster at the University of Denver, best economics teacher I ever had except one, who was a summer before my freshman year at Cornell College at CU Denver. And we were in the basement. It was hot, but he was phenomenal. And but what economics teachers will tell you that are good, there's no such thing as unemployment. There's unlimited amount of work. The thing is, you just may not get that job that you want all your life right off the bat. And this idea of going out and dream of your ideal job and then go get it, well, sometimes. But for most of us, it's responding to opportunities, trying it, see how that works, going further. And for most people, I think in our country, the best opportunity is to start, own, and operate your own business. And that message is kind of going away. The biggest killer of that idea is the Small Business Administration. We have a tax-funded enterprise to crush the entrepreneurial spirit in America. It's outrageous. And neither campaign talks about that. Now, if either Clinton or Trump would start talking about the SBA, and we need to get away from the poison that they're putting in the well of business startup, I would pay a lot of attention to that. I'm sure Gary Johnson talks about it. I don't know if he's on the ballot, but unless he starts coming up radically in the polls, he's not going to be in the debates. If he's not in the debates, we're going to have to choose between Clinton or Trump. And I'm totally open-minded. But this election study group is not just that. It's the Colorado Caucus 2020. Join us this afternoon. Now, if you want, ride down with us on the light rail. We'll be meeting at 315 University Station, and we'll ride down on the light rail together. We can walk into Panera Bread together. And if you can come for that, great. 315 University Station. And or just come straight downtown, get there early because there's not much parking, but come into Panera Bread, 16th and Market. We'll be starting at 4:30. It'll be over about 6. And right after, there's Socrates Cafe, which is a good exercise in critical thinking if you want it to be. It can be just a bowl session. You kind of get what you want out of it. But come, that's at 6 o'clock at the same place, Panera Bread Lodo, 16th and Market. And we're over at 7:30 or 8 with that, and it starts at 6, Socrates Cafe. If you have questions about any of this, I'm always glad to talk to people on the phone. Also, please call me if you'd like to be in this face-to-face group, but you can't be with us this afternoon. That number, 303-861-1447. But call now. It's very sophisticated, automatic voicemail that will take your message. Leave a complete confidential message. I'm the only one with the code to the voicemail box. You'll just be speaking to me. So call now, 303-861-1447, if I can help you in any way at all. This life is very short. So at the end of each one of these little segments, I like to remind us all, especially myself, this life is very short. So let's go get started. Thanks for watching.